For today's episode of Autoimmune Rehab, I would like to welcome Jed Brotherson. So, Jed, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about who are you?
My name is Jed Brotherson. I'm a father, podcaster, and life coach. And I've created a system to help people identify the root cause of their discontent in under 55 days. And we're just spreading the message and helping people get out there as they're searching for ways to break the autoimmune type thing, where I've had history of pain in my back in the past, and just helping people understand that we can find ways to work through this and live the life that we want.
That's awesome. That's great because you're right. I mean, the thing is, what a lot of people don't realize when they first get an autoimmune condition that, well, one, autoimmune conditions don't just come out of the blue. There's always a history, there's always a reason why you developed that autoimmune condition. And it's not only physical, it's also emotional and impacts, your whole body, mind, and spirit, like we like to say. So, if people are really discontent, really not happy with their life before they have an autoimmune condition, and then they get an autoimmune condition, it's going to be even worse. So, for sure, absolutely. So I know part of your history was that you had degenerative back disease, along with that, some pretty severe arthritis. So tell us a little bit about how did that come about? How did you start off finding out that you had this going on?
So maybe if I back up a little bit in my history to say, I was working in a career as an electrician. I had built up my own company. This is back around 2007, 2009, that we had an economy or housing bubble happen right there. And what I felt was the best choice for me at the time was to go back to school. And I went back into retrain as a registered nurse.
Wow, that's a big jump. That's a big career jump.
It was a little bit of a jump, but it was a lot of culture change in that. There was many aspects that, it was interesting to make that big of a jump. And I look back at making the choice, and it felt like the safest thing for me to do. It also, looking back, was not something that was lined up with my path, my life path, my vision of what I wanted to do or be. But it felt like the safest thing. And so as I continued to do that, I wasn't picking up on the signs from my body that's saying this is not what you should be doing. So things would get worse, and I would get more back pain and more neck pain. To where I was thinking about the pain pretty much 24/7. And then just for me, I found little things in my research. Have you ever heard of David Wolf?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I follow him on social media. He has some really good stuff out there, actually.
Yeah, I've really just picked up on a handful of simple daily things that he teaches that we can do to improve our diet and health. And I've tried to, like, the most simple ones were start putting a little salt and charcoal in what we drink in the morning. Activated charcoal to add that into our diet. And I think just those things by themselves have made dramatic improvements in my life. What kind of things have you found?
That's interesting. Yeah, because so like the whole activated charcoal thing, that really helps with a lot of detoxing, because one thing, that I do and that a lot of people don't realize is that detoxing is really, when you have an autoimmune condition, you more than likely have a buildup of toxins in you. And that's one of your challenges. And the same thing with a lot of chronic pain is that you've somehow got some toxin buildup from, whether it's from environmental, whether it's from, like in my case, it was actually some teeth that had mercury fillings that had started cracking open and leaking mercury into my system. Okay. But, all different kinds of stuff. And the activated charcoal can be really good. I've experimented with that a little bit. For me, some of the bigger things are having an actual daily routine that you follow and stick to it, and making myself exercise pretty much first thing in the morning. I tell people they should move within 20 minutes of the first hour that you're awake.
Yeah, the that daily part is a big factor. Where, I know when I was working as a nurse, it was hard for me to be able to feel like I could get the exercise part into my routine. Like we were up so early, and then if we worked late, I mean, the job that I did, sometimes we could do long days, and so I found it hard to sometimes get the energy to stop by the gym on the way home or the time, and so just that struggle that you're saying, I used to find that to be a struggle, but now it's different. I just put it on the calendar, like the coaches say, and make it happen. And I, I, I do it so that it feels good for me. I don't feel like if I have to make 15 minutes, I don't make it so I punish myself if I miss. But I have a certain routine of I do so many pull-ups in the morning, and I do so many steps out to get to the bus stop or whatever. And on different days when it's not taking the kids to the bus stop, then it's different things. But I'm with you. We got to be active and moving early and often.
For sure, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about. So you said you made that leap from being an electrician to a nurse. You felt like it really wasn't a fit. How long was it before you finally were like, enough's enough? I need to change careers because I'm just really not happy in this, and this is affecting my pain and my overall health.
13 years.
Wow.
13 years. Yeah. I mean, looking back at it in the beginning, it's just always, I wanted to always associate it with, oh, maybe it's just what I'm currently doing. It isn't making me happy. Or I wasn't making the connection with, I hadn't resolved the patterns from my past that were causing me to continually choose these choices that were bringing certain circumstances into my reality.
Wow, that's crazy. Did you jump around to different jobs in nursing thinking that maybe if you had a different job, but you were still a nurse, that might fix it?
Oh, I did a little bit. Like I did some dialysis, which I loved. I worked as an endoscopy nurse with the gastroenterologist, which I loved. Like there's different aspects that I tried that I loved and enjoyed those aspects for what they were, just not like ultimately just not part of my whole path. Like I like the technology and the things that we have to be able to help us get our health back. Like when I was a dialysis nurse, to be able to help a client who comes in, and I mean, it's the physician lines up all the orders and all the things that we're doing. But I mean, once they're in the clinic, it's kind of rewarding to be able to hook that system up, which is literally them putting their life in our hands and filter their blood and let them return back to their normal life when they're done. And it had its own rewards, but it just wasn't part of my path.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Yeah, I can see that. That would be really interesting. Yeah, perspective to have. My own dad has actually been on dialysis for, as of this recording, about 5.5 years. So, I can definitely relate to, it's given him, more time in his life, although he's sick a lot, but, that's a whole different conversation in and of itself. But yeah, I can see how, that would be a little rewarding to be able to do that for people. So.
Right. And then getting over to endoscopy, I mean, we would literally take cancers from big clients, right? And help them return back to their normal life and just seemingly make big differences. But still, inside of all of that, my pain was increasing. I just couldn't seem, my weight was increasing. I just couldn't seem to figure that part of my life out. In the last just over a year, I've lost 100 pounds. I feel better than I've felt in years.
Wow.
And it's largely just due to taking the time to find out just who I am and what I want. What makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that plays a big role as well. So I know one of the things that you mentioned is that you had studied epigenetics a little bit with Bruce Lipton, and a lot of people think, oh, I'm just a victim of my genes when it comes to my health, my pain. Maybe one of our parents had thyroid issues or other autoimmune issues or chronic pain, and we think, oh well, we're just doomed because it's in our genes, so to speak. So what would you say to people like that?
I just had a talk about this with one of the therapists that I'm working with. And she does modality called cogno movement, which to me is amazing. And while I'm understanding that I've created this pain in my body, like I just recently had a flare up, and it's a nerve pain. And when that nerve pain is pinching, I'm still thinking, okay, what did I do today to get me back here where I thought I had this problem resolved? So thinking back with Bruce Lipton, and for all the listeners, if they don't have that platform, that TV platform, Gaia, and where they can be able to watch these programs that are available by these people like Bruce Lipton, and so many of these just thought leaders that are helping guide the way. Bruce Lipton helped me make that connection, because I grew up my entire life thinking if there's an issue, it's a genetic problem. If there's an issue, it's in my genes, and I can't do anything about it. All I can do is manage it. With Bruce Lipton being able to offer the insights about, no, this is what we've been telling our gene to do, so this is what it's doing. And the moment I started changing that and telling my body to do something else, it seems to just respond and start healing and start feeling better. And then it has to be practiced every day. Like, that's the trick for me that I found, is being consistent. When you're talking about being in a routine, those are the things I have to have in there. My meditation, my affirmations to remind and affirm that this is how I start my day. I don't have pain anymore. That's part of my past life. And making sure that this is part of how I set the day. And that's largely what I credit to changing so many things for me.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. And your mindset about pain is really a big one. And, I challenge people that are listening to this, if you really feel like that's not the case, to try it. And, we've covered pain as well as several other episodes. I actually even have a whole episode with an interviewer, with a lady who has her PhD in studies and researches pain at the University of Michigan. And she did a whole interview with me and has published a book all about 30 days to get rid of chronic pain. And she specifically says that a lot of it is in your psychology and your mindset and everything else. So, some of you might be listening to this and thinking, no, that can't be. But no, it really is. The power of your mind is really huge when it comes to your pain. So, try it. You have not everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Right. But that has largely helped me just do things like, and then just saying yes. Like my kids teach me lessons in everything that I do every day. And my 8-year-old's asking me, Dad, let's have a yes day. Let's have a yes day. And so one day I just practiced saying yes to everything that she's asking me to do. And most of it was running around outside playing soccer and like getting down on the ground and playing games. And so I thought it just gave me an opportunity to think about what I'm saying yes to consciously, rather than what I was trying to avoid. And I just realized one day I was hiding behind my pain. I was hiding from doing things that I didn't want to do in my daily life behind pain. And when I just started having fun, like I was just playing with my kids, it just made such a bigger difference in my life.
Oh, absolutely. That's amazing. So you make this career move, you quit nursing, you get into, more in like you're more in the life coaching space, but I'd say you're in a little bit of the health coaching space too, because, your background as a nurse, everything else, quite a bit about health and, how to help people improve their health as well. I'm assuming you didn't just immediately stop having your pain. So what other kinds of changes did you make other than your career change that you feel like really helps you get over this hump of this chronic pain problem?
Awareness and ascension is really the only two things I could say. Like, I was just taking a look in the mirror one day and I said, man, I'm becoming something that I don't recognize anymore. So what am I doing that's causing that? And I started realizing, man, there is a bowl full of candy at every desk. Not this isn't literally, but there's just lots of treats and sweets available as a nurse, and not a lot of time to eat like structured meals. And at first I was like, well, this is just my job, so I don't don't really, I'll just try to make the best structure out of this meal thing as I can. But just awareness, increasing awareness around one thing at a time. Like for me, meals, I literally noticed one day, I was like, how come everybody that gets to stop and have breakfast at the coffee shop are all skinny and healthy? And this is just something I noticed. And I put that pin in my mind and I kept watching. And then I find out that when we eat on the run, we're in our fight or flight mode and we don't have time to process in a healthy way. And so what I just started doing was not eating unless I could be in a moment of gratitude and thankfulness for the food that I was about to eat. And then as soon as I could be in that mode, then I would eat whatever that is. I try to eat the best meal I could. And just being more present with the things that I put in my mouth, I think was one of the first biggest changes. But and then that let me find the next awareness for the next thing that I could improve in my life. And while you're correct, the pain didn't just up and disappear, because like I said, it can still recur. Like if I get real angry or something, I can get my muscles to tighten back up, so it's a daily thing.
For sure, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about how you help people now. So one of your signature things is that you help people get to the root cause of their discontent so that they can actually live the life they're meant to live, get rid of that pain, whatever it is that they need to do to be much happier. What is one thing, or let's say one simple thing that you feel like somebody can do to start to develop more awareness around, why they might have discontent?
The first thing and the easiest thing, because it's what helped me, is Esther Hicks. Are you familiar with her?
Yeah. Yeah.
She just has something where she says, if things are in your life are in such a way that you're just not getting what you want. Well, not getting what you want is what you don't want, and that allows you to increase your awareness around what you do want. And at first I thought that sounds so silly to me, but I kept thinking about it, and it just helped me start thinking, understanding that really behind that message is when she's talking about how to tune our radio tuner to what we want more of in our life. And so the essence and the simplicity of it is, let's stop focusing on what we're not getting and focus on how we can serve, right? And this will bring more abundance and help our life the most. Or just if we realize what we've tuned into, maybe we can also think about what we might be missing out on if we're still attracting these things. So it's the simpleness is, what are we tuning our radio tuner to? The complexity for me was, how do you switch the station? That was for me the learning steps.
Yeah, that's good for sure. Absolutely. So before we go in and talk about, how people can connect with you, what they can get from you, let's answer this other last question here, or, maybe we'll see if there's anything else that we missed that you want to share with people. But if you could go back in time to, let's say, when you first started really having a lot of your chronic pain issues, what is one thing that you know now that you wish you had known then?
That pain is a result of our emotions.
Yeah, it's a good one. And anything else you want to share with people before we tell people about the free report that I know you have for them that they can go download, and how they can connect with you?
Just what I'm finding as I talk to people is, there's just so many of us that haven't allowed ourselves to even contemplate or think about the question, what makes me happy? Like, there's so many of us out there that are, we're so caught up in the daily routines that we're trying to show up for other people, be it our friends or our families or coworkers or whatever it is. We're so caught up in this showing up to be more, that we don't ask ourselves enough about what makes us happy. And so just as they get a chance to read through that gift, just contemplate that. What makes you happy? If you feel like you're ready to take a couple steps to make some big changes in your life and increase your happiness, then that's what I'm all about.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, so tell us then a little bit about this free guide that you're going to offer people, and we will have a link to it in the show notes so that people can go find it, because the link's too complicated to, say that out loud. If you have like a website or like an Instagram or any other places that people can connect with you, tell us where they are, and then we'll make sure that we link them in the show notes.
All right. I don't have those links memorized. Some of them. There's one JD Brotherson, J D as in David, BROTHERSON .com, and that one I'll have to actually double check that link. That part I'll have to just make the notes because I haven't put the link part into my speech. But what they'll find in the free guide is the 3 reasons that cause our discontent, and I put it in there. I mean, 3 reasons that you're feeling discontent might sound vague to some, but really discontent can be described so differently by so many people. As you take a look, what is it in your life that you're not feeling fulfilled in? Is it family and relationships? Is it job? Is it personally? Right? I worked with a client recently that was just describing how every time they look in a mirror, they really can't feel great about themselves or say nice things. And that comes up from time to time. Guys have a really hard time being honest with people about that. Very rarely does a guy ask me that question or bring that issue up. But it's nice to be able to work with people that are willing to make these changes and be honest with themselves in such a way.
That's awesome, for sure. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Jed. Like I said, we'll have a link below so people can grab the guide. We'll see, if there's anything else he wants to link, we'll include those as well, so you can check those out, connect with him, and yeah, realize that you are in control of your pain. And if you don't like where you're at in life with your health, your career, whatever, you can change it.
Exactly.